Hello, everyone. Happy to see all of you. Thanks for co-piloting, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Love to offer, or love for everyone to feel free to say good evening so that you have a feeling for who you're sitting with.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Good evening,
Hi,
everyone.
everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, hi everyone. Good to see you all.
Hello. Good to be here.
Yes.
Glad to have you all. Thank you for that. So without further ado, let's do a little practice together. I think we can all use that. Think of it as a time to let go of the past. It's already gone. Let go of the future. It's just a dream. Let go of the present. That's just another idea. Just find your body with its senses. That's enough of a miracle for all of us. The fact that we're breathing beings, nature, part of nature. So just to attune our attention to with hopefully some awe and wonder at the fact that we're here. You made it here. You made it here. After everything you've been through, you're here. So it's no accident. This is reality. So once you've located yourself here, come a little bit closer. Let your eyes close softly. And feel that soft, as I forgot who it was. Maybe it's Mary Oliver. Feel that soft animal body. Felt as sensation, as elements. Let your body take a very deep, full breath. And let the out breath allow you to settle in, to find a place of balance and ease, upright, relaxed, a calm, abiding in the only reality, this, what we call the unfolding present. Once you've found your body, let go of the idea of it and just feel it. Feel the tingling. Feel the form of it, shape, the temperature. Congealed by the water element. Just feel it. Just sitting. And notice how, without any effort, the body breathes according to its needs. Sometimes short breaths, sometimes long, sometimes rough, sometimes smooth, deep or shallow. Just notice and enjoy the body's experience of its own breathing. Notice how just gathering and sustaining our attention in our body, how it brings about an emptying of all of our preoccupations, and then filled with a feeling of aliveness. And the idea of ourself has melted away, and now it's just the direct experience. This is Dharma. Not captured in any words, but felt, experienced directly. Just this moment, just this breath. All sense experienced, included sounds, a whole variety of discrete sensations, aching, burning, stabbing, itching, tingling, whatever it is that fills our awareness, we welcome it. Moods, we let them flow through. We let them be. We let go of any clinging to breath, to sounds, to moods, to thoughts, but we welcome them. We discover their nature, changing, ungraspable, selfless. Everything's happening by itself. And we just let go into that stream of changing conditions, supported by this simple experience of body and breath. And we allow ourselves to enjoy what the Tibetans call the magical display. Enjoy whatever arises and passes away. Clinging to nothing. Just this moment. Free of desire. All desires are fulfilled. Nothing missing. Everything unfolding by itself. Let your body keep calling you here. And each time you wake up to where you are, no matter how far or how long you've been absorbed in the tangle of your fantasies and thoughts, that moment of awakening is a moment of rearising mindfulness. It's the highest state. Appreciate those moments of reawakening, no judging of having drifted. This is natural. Just wake up, find your body, your breath, and know you've already arrived at the mountaintop. Let yourself be, let go, just as is. There's a great healing power in just being aware. And so now that you're a little bit more continuously aware, let your body bathe in this healing, aware presence. Let your breath breathe into that aware presence. Let the sounds, the moods, the thoughts be received by that healing, aware presence. With awareness, there is nothing then to do or to undo. It's just to let that light warm the hard edges, welcome the rejected parts, and just receive. Be aware. Thanks so much for your practice. It's really helpful to me to sit with you tonight and practice what I was preaching. Just appreciate the power of just bearing witness, not doing anything, not undoing anything, just being aware. And not being anyone in particular being aware, just being aware, being awareness itself. I didn't solve any problems. I didn't fix anything. I didn't make myself any better. Didn't improve. Just let myself be aware. And hopefully you got a little taste of that yourself. As always, it wasn't always this way, but over the last several years, at the end of the sitting, as opposed to the end of the evening, at the end of the talk, the end of the sitting when it's still fresh, I like to hear from you, to see if there are any questions, comments, descriptions, anything you might want me to talk about. And Catherine will give you the rundown on how you can raise your hand or do what needs to be done. I'd love to check in with you.
Hi, everybody. Oh, are
I
you
just
ready
wanted
for me?
just a reminder that as I say each week, that whatever your comment or question might be will likely be of some use to someone else. So feel free. Go ahead, Catherine.
Okay. Raise hand button you will find in the reactions on some versions of Zoom, or if you go to participants and hover next to your name, you'll see a raise hand button as well. And just message me if you have any issues. So ask away.
Pressure building.
I'll jump in. I'll jump in with a question.
Oh,
Since
feel free.
nobody, there's some space here. Can you talk about dull mind or a sense of dullness? I mean, I felt I was present on and off, but I also just feel tired and a sense of heaviness. And I don't know if there are specific techniques for sort of brightening during meditation.
Yes, thank you for the question or the comment. Well, as you've probably heard me say before, there are a variety of reasons that we tend to become dull. One is that we're tired. So that's a perfectly reasonable reason to be dull, is that your vital energy is diminished from perhaps your long day, or your vital energy is diminished because of the way you've been living your life. So in any case, when our energy wanes, there are some things that you can do while you're practicing. One is to take a very precise posture. So I tried to do that during the sitting as I started to be dull. So put your little forward tilt on your pelvis. Just make sure that you're generally upright. Practice with the eyes open. And before you let your eyes settle into an unfocused gaze, open them really wide and look at a light or something that brings some energy. Another recommendation is that you stand up. It's that little extra energy that it takes to hold your body up will help balance the tendency toward sinking mind that comes with more tranquility. So sometimes dullness is because you're tranquil without enough energy. And it's not a bad thing. It just means that there's a little imbalance there. So you just try to arouse a little bit of energy. If you persistently are dull, even when you are well rested and with tranquility, sometimes dullness has to do with avoidance, something you don't want to feel, or you're on the threshold of feeling, some truth that you're not letting yourself know. But by and large, it's really just a simple vital energy issue. And it's an insight into that. First and foremost, before you reach for any antidote, is to arouse some energy through studying the feeling of dullness, which I imagine you did. You're nodding, so.
I was trying to discern what it was, because it wasn't sleepiness. It was just a heavy feeling. Yeah.
So when you noticed a heavy feeling, did you study how it felt in your body and what happened to it when you noticed it?
To some degree, and I also I got into a certain amount of aversion to it,
Uh-huh.
like wanting to drop in.
Uh-huh. Yes, well, one of the causes of exhaustion and dullness is excess effort, is greed in the mind, trying to make something happen. That will definitely
That
wear you out.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So
If you did a survey, you'd find a lot of people dull this evening.
thanks. So we have Dan and then Karen.
Please, Dan, welcome.
Hi, everyone. So Howie, as you know, I've mentioned to you a few times that I'm pouring through Joseph Goldstein's heavy book, Mindfulness, and I just finished reading him talking about inward and outward. And I wanted to see if you could maybe unpack that a little further, because I didn't quite, I think I have a sense of what he's describing. So I could elaborate, or I could stop there and you could say something about that.
You can stop there. Thanks for the question. In the teachings on the foundations of mindfulness, for those of you who are not so aware of this particular teaching from the sutra called the Satipatthana Sutta, the sutta on the four foundations of mindfulness. When mindfulness is described, it's described, especially mindfulness of the body and its senses. There is mindfulness inwardly, mindfulness externally. And so external sight would be the object of sight. Internal would be seeing, the experience of seeing, or whatever you see internally, externally. So internal and external. And it's just, I don't know how much you want me to elaborate on that, but that's essentially what it is. Did you want to say more about your question, or?
Yeah, so I just want to be sure that I'm clear on, like, so if I'm mindful of internal experiences, my sight of lines or curtains and the color of them, and then how would I outwardly
be-
observe it? Like, how would I differentiate between that?
That would be external mindfulness.
Okay,
If it was the side, if it was the curtains,
okay,
if it was the experience of seeing,
okay,
it would be internal. Or if it was an internal sight, like an image or a color or a light, that would be internal. But then external, and again, these ideas of internal and external break down. They're in the deepest part of our understanding. There is no internal, there is no external. Everything is just mind.
that's kind of why I'm actually confused. It's like I don't even know that the distinction needs to be made in some ways. Not to get too philosophical, but
I
I
think
think-
that the teachings have many levels of what we'd call skillful means. And if I tell somebody who's just meditating for the first time that there is no internal and there's no external, they will not have a clue what I'm talking about.
right.
But the quieter one becomes, the more settled, the more these ideas of internal and external just melt away, and there's just what's being known, and there's nothing outside of our awareness. So,
Thank you.
pleasure.
right.
Annalisa, please.
Karan.
Oh, Karan's next. Okay. Hi, Karan.
Hello. Hi, Howie.
So great. So great to see you.
Great to sit with you and the Sangha as well. Howie, there's a question on my mind which was more alive at the start of the set. It's less alive now, but if we have the time and space, I thought I'll ask. And I think I've asked this question before, so maybe just I need to hear you speak about it again. I don't remember where the discussion led to last time. It's the question of why. Why is it so easy to fall into a state of like wanting to do something, wanting to fix something, and then you have to work so hard to get to the state of just being? So maybe the answer is like there's no point dwelling on the why questions and like
Yeah, well, the why questions will drive you crazy there, in some ways unanswerable. But it's the simplest answer just for a try is just habit. It's just habit. And I think it actually, you think it's more work. I think it's more work to try to do something, try to make something happen, try to fix, try to get somewhere. It's a lot less work to be. So it's, in some ways, it's just waking up to the exhaustion, getting back to the question of exhaustion, the exhaustion that comes from being caught in our mind's desires, in our views of ourselves as insufficient, that we need to do something to become okay. And if we just check out what it's like to just be for a moment, you see that it takes no effort at all.
after you get there, it takes no effort. But
Say, what's that? After you get there, you've never been apart from it. It's not getting anywhere. It is your natural state. Just being aware. How hard is it right now? If I asked you to stop being aware, what happens? You're already aware. It's home. So it's just getting used to that. So essentially, it's being aware enough to see your mind go off. See what your mind, get to know all the ways that your mind starts running from this simple aware presence. Runs from silence, runs from simplicity. It's just a habit. I actually have some quotes with me tonight, and maybe we'll take a short break, but I'll share them with you. One from Bhante Gunaratna, a wonderful Sri Lankan teacher, and one from Ajahn Chah, and even One I read last week, I'll review or revisit tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Annalisa, last but not least.
Hi, Howie. Good to see you. Today was interesting. When I started in the position and sitting and closing my eyes, I was not feeling well. It felt like I felt some level of discomfort, racing thoughts. And so I decided, let me open my eyes. So I opened my eyes and I tried to focus, but there are a lot of distractions in the room in front of me. But eventually I felt calmer and then I closed again the eyes. Can you explain why opening the eyes after the beginning was closed eyes and then I opened my eyes, explored the room, I felt calmer and I was able to then have the full session of meditation with closed eyes. I don't know, it was kind of fairly new to me.
Well, it sounds like you used your intuition about what you needed at that time. Sometimes with eyes closed and not feeling well, there can be a tendency to get dizzy or feel more uncomfortable, and makes it hard to be with yourself at that time. And somehow, and we end up in a very narrow, which sometimes can be very pleasant, secluded world, but the secluded world of something that feels really unsettling or unpleasant. Sometimes what we're needing is more space. We're needing, you've heard me use that expression from the Zen tradition, the way to control a cow is to give it a big pasture. So you open your eyes and you have a wider field of both visual field and sometimes a more wide experience of being able to experience what's uncomfortable. And like that cow that's been given a big space, it runs around for a while and then it settles.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's sometimes we just need more space.
Yeah.
And you can, if with your eyes closed also, you may sometimes imagine or sense your mind having lots of space, having limitless space. If you were to close your eyes right now and just imagine, we sometimes use imagine, but you can sense your mind like a clear, open sky without any limits. And sometimes the body will somehow relax when it has more room. Curious what happened?
It works. I can sense if I imagine I am in the sky, it's cool. It's really cool. I felt a sense of liberation. I think I was feeling, a little bit suffocated or something around,
Well, our mind is sky-like. It's like that. But sometimes we need the metaphor, need that image to connect with that natural spaciousness that we are. And one of the chronic feelings of discomfort is feeling like we don't have space. And if everyone could remember, moment to moment, anytime, anywhere, that your mind is vacuous, it has space, and just to let it unfurl. And you might find that the whole body likes that.
Thank you so much, Howie.
Thank you. So short announcements, Catherine. Thanks, Lisa.
There are 2 retreats coming up this Sunday, February 21st from 9 to 1 p.m. Howie's leading a half day, waking up in the midst of it all. And the registration is in the chat. So hope you can come to that. And then Howie is also co-leading a longer retreat, April 22nd to 28th, called The 4 Foundations of Mindfulness. You need to register by April 7th. And that is with One World Mindfulness. And that link is also in the chat. And as always, thank you for your generosity. The information to give Donna, and obviously no one ever turned away for lack of funds, but if you choose to give, the ways to do that are also in the chat. So thank you so much for coming. It's so great to see everybody and to be in Sangha.
Thank you, Catherine. So let's just take a couple moments to stretch, to refresh your body. If you want to attend to, if you feel to offer Donna now, feel free to do that now or anytime, but just take a couple minutes to refresh yourself, and then we'll continue. I'll just shuffle a few papers, and we'll be continuing with a little more Dharma. I just want to reiterate something this evening that I think is easy to forget in our COVID shaken world. Our lives of so many challenges and problems, that the practice of the Buddha, teachings of the Buddha, are not so much about problem solving, not so much about, not even about purifying. not even about becoming a better person, although there are countless skillful means to become more clear, more loving, more skillful. But the heart of the Buddha's teaching is about liberation. It's about discovering once and for all that you, not just that historical person, but that you are the Buddha, that you are a Buddha, that you're awakening to your essential freedom, to an unconditional peace and ease, is the same awakening as the Buddha experience. And that Buddha, so-called Buddha nature, is always already you. Not the idea of you, but the essence of you. The direct experience of yourself before you can consult your memory. Before you fall into the ideas that you have about yourself. You are awake, wakefulness itself. You are the Buddha. As Kala Rinpoche said, why don't you see this? Why don't you know it through and through? He says, because there's a veil. And that veil is simply the belief that you are somebody. You're a separate individual. You're a historical person. You're all those things that you are conventionally speaking. But because we get caught up in our personalities, our stories, our histories, our individual situations, we fail to recognize that Buddha nature. And in some ways, nurture, practice, reinforce through almost all of our acts of body, speech, and mind, reinforce the idea that we're not the Buddha, that we are a suffering being who is born, gets sick, gets old, dies, who has to figure things out, that has to solve all our problems. And that's so convincing that we can't even possibly recognize that in the midst of that, we're actually Buddhas. Last week, I read to you the words of Padmasambhava, some consider the founder of Tibetan Buddhism, the author of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, The Great Liberation. He said, agitation, and you can interchange a lot of the feelings that we get bound up in. Agitation due to circumstances occurs when, because of an external incident, you follow a thought. And your mind becomes agitated and scatters into a disturbing emotion. When that happens, he says, keep the attitude that there's no need to do anything. That's radical. Because the view, usually if we're uncomfortable, if we've experienced a disturbing emotion, is I need to fix it. I need to solve it. I need to do something. I need to become someone. And in that, we're essentially telling ourselves that we are unhappy and that the only way that I can become happy is to solve my problems. What that overlooks, what that obscures, is that happiness, I quote Gendon Rinpoche almost every month, says happiness cannot be found through effort and willpower, but it's already present in open relaxation and letting go. So the heart of the Buddha's awakening is letting go, liberation through non-clinging, through dropping it, through not feeding, not giving fuel, not nurturing that view of ourselves as a problem to be solved, as someone who is, instead of marked by Buddha nature, marked by insufficiency, unsatisfactoriness. Our personality is marked by all those things. It cannot be secured. It cannot be liberated, our personality. And the Buddha was pretty clear about where it is that we go off the rails, where we get stuck in that chronic misperception of where freedom is to be found. And it's found in a teaching called the Four Attachments. And the first attachment is attachment to desire for sense pleasures. When my mind is focused on what I want to happen, what I want, there is the assumption that in the absence of what I want, I'm going to be miserable. As Sri Nisargadatta says, mind shapes itself according to its beliefs. And that's a distorted perception. So we wander a long time in a kind of endless pursuit of pleasure. We live in the culture of dependency on sense pleasures. But that's a big one, wanting what I don't have. That's why Rumi, in his wonderful poem that's kind of hard-hitting, he says, failure is the key to the divinity within. Your prayer should be, break the legs of what I want to happen. Humiliate my desire. It's spring, and finally I have no will. We exhaust ourselves. Oh. And on top of that, the exhaustion comes so much because of worry, anxiety, the wondering whether I will achieve what I want to achieve, get what I want to get. Our body is often tense in a state of desire. So the beauty of Dharma is we notice the desire body. We notice the desire arising in the mind. Oh, this is desire. And what do? We release that tight, as Gendon Rinpoche says again, we release that tight fist of grasping. And we discover, Annalisa, that infinite space is there. Open, inviting, and comfortable. So he says, make use of this spaciousness, this freedom and natural peace. Don't search any further. But it's not just the desire body, the attachment to desires of our senses, the endless pursuit of the next pleasurable experience. It's also attachment to the way things are supposed to be done, who I should be, how I should be. Traditionally, this is described as attachment to rites and rituals or rites and customs. And in our, especially in our spiritual lives, we can get so caught up in whether we're doing the right practice in the right way. So many questions come about doing it right. And sometimes what happens when we're attached to rites and customs, we not only become contracted about whether we are doing what's right, we become contracted and critical about what others are doing right or wrong in their practice. So the judging mind gets bound up in rites and customs, and then the judging mind gets bound up in a third kind of attachment that binds us in this endless cycle of agitation, and that's attachment to views and opinions. I brought along some teachings from the Buddha. This is from the Sutta Nipata, which is from the early suttas of the Buddha. This is from the Buddha. This I do now declare after investigation. There is nothing among all doctrines that such a one as I would embrace. Seeing misery in philosophical views without adopting any of them, searching for truth, I discovered inner peace. Quote, not by any philosophical opinion, not by tradition, not by knowledge, not by virtue and holy works can anyone say that purity exists, nor by absence of philosophical opinion, by absence of tradition, by absence of knowledge, by absence of virtue and holy works either, having abandoned these without adopting anything else. Let one calm and independent not desire any resting place. Quote, one who thinks oneself equal to others, or superior, or inferior, for that very reason disputes, gets into conflicts. But one who is unmoved under the three conditions, those three conditions, for that person, the notions equal, superior, and inferior do not exist. The sage for whom the notions equal and unequal do not exist, would he say this is true? Or with whom should he dispute, saying this is false? With whom should he enter into dispute? Quote, an accomplished person does not by philosophical view or by thinking become arrogant, for he is not of that sort, not by holy works, not by tradition is he led. He is not led into any of the resting places of the mind. For one who is free from views, there are no ties. For one who is delivered by understanding, there are no follies. But those who grasp after views and philosophical opinions, they wander about the world annoying people. I'll just continue here because there's a little train of readings about opinions and views. Do not form views, and this is from the Sutta Nipata also. Do not form views in the world through either knowledge, virtuous conduct, or religious observances. Likewise, avoid thinking of oneself as being superior, inferior, or equal to others. The wise let go of the self, and being free of attachment, they depend not on knowledge, nor do they dispute opinions or fix upon any view. For those who have no wishes for either extreme of becoming or non-becoming, here or in another existence, there is no conflict, and there's no conflict with the views held by others. They do not form the least notion in regard to views seen, heard, or thought out. How could one influence those wise ones who do not grasp at any views? This is very confronting, since I've just fallen into so many views, political, meditative, and just to be reminded that all these views create a foothold in the mind, and then it create the potential for dispute, which creates agitation. And the beauty of Dharma is one can awaken to this agitation, awaken to these views, and not do anything about them. Just remain in that stainless, empty, whole, aware state. Nothing to do about what I notice, nothing to undo, nothing to fix, and nothing missing. One last one about judging others, because that's a big hook for our minds. One evening, the Buddha arose from his meditation and was seated outside the eastern gate of the park where he was staying. Then King, I don't even know how to say the name, Pesanandi, arriving for a visit, greeted the Buddha and took a seat to one side. Just at that time, not so far away, a large group of wandering ascetics were walking by. Carrying their alms bowls, some of these ascetics wore long matted hair, some were naked, some wore only a single robe, and some were wanderers. When they had passed by, the king asked the Buddha, "Can any of those ascetics be considered as being either arhants," which means fully awakened beings, "or on the path of arhatship?" The Buddha responded, "It is by living a life in common with a person that we learn of that person's moral character. And then only if, having insight ourselves, we have watched a person for a long time. It is only in conversation with a person that we learn of that person's wisdom and clarity of heart. And then only if, having insight ourselves, we have paid attention for a long time. It is during times of trouble that we learn of another's fortitude. And then only if, having insight ourselves, we have paid careful attention for a long time. So again, what I get the reminder is, yes, we will have all kinds of views and judgments, but when we notice the views and judgments, we don't do anything. We just keep practicing. We just keep remembering our Buddha nature. And that the heart of everything we're doing is not fixing, not becoming, not being right, but is in learning to let go, learning that heart of non-clinging, what's sometimes called the sure heart's release. Otherwise, we end up as Ajahn Sumedho describes, and I'll end with this for those who have not heard it before, and those who have, please be patient. Ajahn Sumedho says, the practice of letting go is very effective for minds obsessed by compulsive thinking. You simplify your meditation practice down to just 2 words, letting go. Rather than try to develop this practice and then develop that, achieve this and go into that, understand this and read the sutras and study the Buddha psychology and learn Pali and Sanskrit, then the Madhyamaka and the Prajnaparamita, get ordinations in the Hinayana, the Mahayana, the Vajrayana, and write books and become a world-renowned authority on Buddhism. Instead of becoming the world's expert on Buddhism and being invited to great international Buddhist conferences, just let go, let go, let go. I did nothing but this for about 2 years. Every time I tried to understand or figure things out, I'd say, let go, until the desire would fade out. So I'm making it very simple for you to save you from getting caught in incredible amounts of suffering. There is nothing more sorrowful than having to attend international Buddhist conferences. Some of you might have the desire to become the Buddha of the age, Maitreya, radiating love throughout the world. But instead, I suggest just being an earthworm. Letting go of the desire to radiate love throughout the world. Just be an earthworm who knows only 2 words. Let go, let go, let go. Or I like to interchange, let be, let be, let be. You see, ours is the lesser vehicle, the Hinayana. That's the pejorative term for the Theravada tradition. It says ours is the lesser vehicle. So we have only these simple poverty-stricken practices. But then Ajahn Sumedho goes on, and I leave you with this. The important thing in practice is to be constant and resolute in the practice, determined to be awake and awakened. This is not to be conceited or foolish, but resolute even when the going is rough. Keep reminding yourself of the Buddha, that awakened capacity, the Dharma, the truth, the way things are, the Sangha, and stay with it, letting go of despair, letting go of anguish, letting go of pain, of doubt, of everything that arises and passes that we habitually cling to and identify with. Keep this letting go like a constant refrain in your mind, so it just pops up on its own no matter where you are. So let's slowly let go of this evening by reflecting on it for a moment and wishing. I've started to hear the Metta Sutta in my mind, wishing in gladness and safety, wishing that all beings be at ease and that our practice, our time together, any fruits, any benefit, any goodness, any blessings, that it all be offered for the gladness, for the happiness, for the welfare and benefit of all beings. And to wish that all beings can awaken, that all beings can come out of the tangle of the distorted perceptions of ourselves as inadequate and insufficient, and realize the grandeur of our natural state of presence. And a deep wish that all beings can be liberated and have tender hearts. So may our practice benefit all. So thanks for your practice. Thanks for your generosity. Please feel free to say good night to everyone. Put each other to bed.
Thanks, Howie.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Good
Howie.
night. Thank you, Howie.
Thanks, Howie.